you don't think Martha Washington was kind of like, what do you think would happen if you crossed the Delaware River?
If you haven't picked it up yet, like fertility has everything to do with your hormones.
Your home is the one location that you can control.
Should you have some protein in every meal? Today we're talking about something that many women don't start thinking about until they're already trying to get pregnant: fertility. The reality is that fertility challenges are more common than most people realize, and many couples are surprised when things don't happen as quickly or as easily as they expected. But the truth is, fertility isn't something you suddenly start caring about the month you decide to try for a baby. It's influenced by years of lifestyle habits, nutrition, stress levels, sleep, and overall health. In this episode, we're talking about what a lot of women and couples are struggling with when it comes to fertility today. And more importantly, the simple things you can start doing now to support your body long before pregnancy is on the table. Because preparing your body for motherhood doesn't start with a positive pregnancy test. It starts with how you take care of yourself today. Let's get into it. With all of the technical difficulties, today will be an interesting one.
Yeah, we had a heck of a day. This is our third attempt at trying to do the podcast today because we were just having so many issues. And I think this will be it. I have no water next to me.
Okay, we have to fix this.
Well, I was going to rough it. I'm just roughing it, guys. Kaylin left. She'll be back.
Ha! Sweetie. Actually, no. I just grabbed a bottle of water because we got our water tested and it came back that there's bacteria in it. And that specific bacteria is probably like poop because we live out in farmland and like it all seeps through the ground, you know? And there's animals and everything.
Yeah.
So get your water tested because we didn't think there was anything wrong with our water. We haven't had any problems with it, but it just kind of makes you wonder what else is in it. So
I'm personally, my new crunchy purchase is going to be a water filtration system for drinking water because we do natural spring water now. We don't do tap water or anything like that. We do the spring water as opposed to like purified water, but we're still doing it in plastic bottles. So I'm going to get a like drinking water filtration thing, and I'm not talking Brita. No.
I've heard Brita's not even good.
No, I'm talking like it's going to completely purify the water, and then I have to go in and like add the minerals of the water back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, see, this has really started our conversation as to, okay, what are we going to do with this information? Because there's other things that we're like, okay, we've tested for like bacteria, but like what about metals and other minerals? Because like we have copper pipes and like his great grandfather, one of the fathers built this house like back in the day. So like who knows what's going on underneath, you know?
Exactly. Maybe a water filtration system for your drinking water is the way to go for you guys.
Well, the first option that my husband brought up was, well, we can get this thing that goes on the counter. And I immediately shot it down. I said, we don't have enough counter space as it is.
That's
like
true.
I'm not adding something else to the counter. That's just always out because where am I going to cook? So that was the first option. The second one was like an input and then it goes through something and then there's another thing and then it's an output. But is that going to filter out everything that we need to? We're not sure. We have to go through all of the testing. We're probably going to order like a test from Penn State and send that out. But it's like a lot of like, you have to literally do it the same day you collect it. There's like certain parameters and everything. So it's just, we got to research a bit and then figure it out. But who would have known that our well water was literally poopy?
Yeah, that's really gross and really weird to think about because you have drank that water for forever.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm fine.
That's true, but are you? Maybe you don't even know.
Maybe I don't.
That's what I'm saying. Because I'm going to order this water filter thing. I don't know what to call it because it's not like one of the Brita ones. It is one that sits on the countertop. And I'll get back to the podcast and let everybody know the vibes if I like it. And then if I do like it, I'll tell you guys the brand.
Yeah, let's do that. And I like that you brought up about like the not purified spring water, because I just said to Tristan today, what I'm drinking here is purified. And I said, I'm pretty sure spring water is where it's at. And he said, I think you're right. So this was like a panic winter storm buy. I just threw it in the cart. I didn't care what. I just wanted to make sure we had some water to drink if we lost power.
Yeah. And we get the spring water. We get like gallons of spring water every week. We probably spend anywhere from $15 to $20 on water every single week. And it's almost
I feel like you could spend money on worse things.
Well, for sure. But the way I think myself and a lot of people forget when it comes to health is because all of this stuff seems expensive sometimes when it comes to health. Just to look at the numbers for ourselves, to buy this water filter system, it's going to pay for itself within like 8 months to a year. And it's good for like a long time.
Right. With that filtration system, are you just running tap water into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just tap water, and then you have to change the filter. It's actually really cool. You can like hook it up to an app and it tells you when the filter's low, and then you change the filter out whenever it tells you it's low, and the filter's like maybe $30 and you have to change it every 6 months.
Sounds financially sound to me.
I know, but like we often think, oh, that's way too expensive. But in the end, not only is it actually going to save us money, but it's also going to help improve our health, because you can get filters that automatically put the minerals that you need in your body back into the water. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think the difference with like the purified versus the spring is that the spring has like the natural minerals in it still.
Yes.
Whereas the purified is like everything's taken from it. It's just water.
It has the natural minerals, but it has natural minerals wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, you try so hard.
Do you ever, like, I had listened to that one podcast, I think I mentioned it in our last episode, if not the one before, of just like all of the toxins that you come face to face with like every single day. Did you ever stop to think how much of your day touches plastic?
100%.
Like, all of our food is packaged in plastic, even if it's organic, even if it's grass-fed, it's touching plastic. Fruits, vegetables, if you get them cut up, plastic. Leafy greens, lettuce, plastic. The bags of carrots, plastic. If you get a bag of apples, plastic. Paper plate, coated with plastic. Water bottles, plastic. Takeout containers, plastic. Everything's plastic.
It's a complete toxic soup. And I'll do you one better. Not so much as the plastics, but we're a toxic species to where you could be the cleanest person in the world, and you have a waitress that comes in close proximity to you and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes her toxins can like enter through airborne, anything like that. So it is, we say a lot, it is inevitable, but there's so many things that you can do to protect yourself, protect your household, set yourself up for the future. And that's just what we like to talk about, because we know it's going to happen. Unless you're a completely off the grid, like mountain person. Yeah. Other than that, it's going to happen, but there are ways to combat it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think this was on our like agenda of things to talk about, but one of the main things in my fertility nutrition portion of my certifications, I think probably a fifth, maybe a sixth of the original like starting material for that section was just talking all about toxins and how the toxins that we are in touch with on the day-to-day are one of the leading contributors to fertility issues, because what a lot of these toxins are doing is they're disrupting our endocrine hormones. So our bodies are not able to function with all of this. They use like the kitchen sink kind of analogy, where it's like, okay, you've got I think it's like a regular sink, and then you add in, some type of sludge, and then you add in other things that are blocking it, and it doesn't withhold really well. Obviously, you want the sink to drain. That's the original function of a sink, is to have a drain so it doesn't overflow. But when you're adding in toxin after toxin after toxin after toxin, that load doesn't allow the sink to function as it's supposed to, or I should say the drain to function as it should. So if you think about your body as the kitchen sink, you have to make sure that you're supporting it so that it has the ability to drain and get rid of those toxins. So reducing your toxic load can help your body with that function. It was a really long-winded explanation, but I hope you were following. I will add to that a lot of people think that the main reason and pinpointed issue with fertility is women. But I don't want to be the spoiler here. But men's health is just as important as the women when it comes to fertility.
100%.
And there's a lot that couples can do collectively that can change the direction of their fertility health.
Yes. Which I know a lot about fertility and like the factors that interfere with the women specifically, but I am interested to hear from you a little bit how it affects the man.
Well, I think what we have to think about just overall in general is like for couples broadly, broad term, broad blanket, you should be eating whole foods. You should be reducing processed foods. You should be eating anti-inflammatory foods, antioxidant foods, and focusing on your sleep, managing your stress. And the one thing that was surprising to me, like how many men do you know that put their phone in their front pockets?
I'll do you one better. How many men do you know when they're driving put their phone in between their legs?
In between their legs, using laptops on their laps. Those are things that can impact the health of the sperm.
I had to yell at Will because he would always put his phone in. Of course, they sit how they sit, and we know how men sit. He would put his phone
in between spread.
The man spread. He would put his phone in between his legs and drive long distances like that. Generally because I have my Stanley and I have my phone in the places and I have a coffee and he has nowhere to put his phone. Let's be real.
Poor man.
That's why his phone is there. But I said, you stop that right now. Let's make a space for you. Put it on the floor or
the back seat.
I was going to say.
Throw it in the trunk.
What? You don't even need this phone. You're driving. Come on. No, but I had to yell at him, and now he won't. Now he won't do that. Because I think a lot of times we think, and granted, I am women, but women don't give men enough credit sometimes, because like they kind of want to be healthy too. Mm-hmm. Like I talk to a lot of people that they're like, I just want to be healthy, but I just don't think my husband will get on board, or I don't know if we'll be able to like do it together or anything. But I've never once said something health-wise to him and he was like, nah, I'm going to keep doing that. Like, you know what I mean?
I think with men, I'm going to go in reverse of the order I wanted to say these things. But for your situation that you just said, like, I'm sure if you told him one thing and then backed it up with research or studies that have proved that what you said is what you should be doing, that logic to him, if he understands it and it makes sense to him, he's more likely to go along with it. Because that's just logical creatures.
Yeah.
But another thing is if you're worried about that, you just start and do your thing. The worst that can happen is that, he turns it into his idea to join you. When it's his idea, he will be all on board. If you nag him and tell him he has to do something, or you want him to do something, or you're mad that he won't do something, I can guarantee you he's less likely to do that thing.
Listen, I swear a man has never had an original thought. Like,
But he'll act like he did.
like, you don't think Martha Washington was kind of like, what do you think would happen if you crossed the Delaware River? You know what I mean?
And he's like, I could never do that. What are you talking about?
He's
and
like, absolutely not.
He sat in his tree stand and he just thought to himself, and he's like, huh, I should probably try to cross the Delaware River.
Yes.
And then he's like, hey, Martha, guess what I just thought?
Exactly. And Martha's like,
You'll
crazy.
never guess this idea that I just had.
No way. Weird. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah. So logical reasoning, and let it be his idea. That's how we get over that. The one thing that I do think is really interesting about like the male side of the fertility thing is like, when a woman's trying to get pregnant, she's not drinking alcohol. She's not like doing crazy things, smoking. Like that should also play into the male as well. Like alcohol is a big factor when it comes to sperm health, sperm quality, and just like the hormones within the male, which I don't think many males take into consideration. They just kind of keep on living life. And then when there are issues, they don't think that the alcohol would be to blame. All right, so weird pause if you're watching this visually, but the technical difficulties when we originally tried to record this was absolutely atrocious, and I think Ellie and I both needed to bash our head off a wall. She went retail therapy shopping, and I just continued on with my day, but we're reconvening, so that's why we're looking different, and if we repeat anything, that is also why.
Yes, it's about 3 days later now from when we originally were recording that. And it's also kind of early in the morning. Well, when we sat down, it was early in the morning, and then we talked for like an hour and a half. And now it's no longer early, but I feel like we both look like it's morning time. I feel like I look like it's morning time.
We also have to give ourselves some credit that the clocks did jump ahead 1 hour last night.
Yes. Definitely felt that. But also just haven't gotten necessarily around yet. So don't mind the appearance.
Full transparency, I put a sports bra on and a t-shirt. I still have not brushed my teeth, and I do have pajama pants on. So
Wonderful.
We're half ready for the day.
Yes.
But I know last time we were talking about the couples and how the couples can be working toward fertility together and being proactive about it. But let's kind of dive into our girlies and what our girlies can be doing and focusing on, which most times will still relate to the partner as well. But we're just going to have a little chitty chat with our girlies. And one thing that I was particularly surprised by, it's like I kind of had a feeling, but I did not realize how many females struggle with PCOS. And obviously that can be an indicator of fertility issues. I also learned that PCOS, it affects like 8 to 13% of women and girls. Like that's a lot. And I wonder if that comes from just like our environment, like all of the toxins and just like like we talked about our kitchen sink just being overloaded. So it just starts at an earlier age and then follows you through adulthood.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the environment because I noticed, so I have PCOS. I don't know if I still have it or not, because pretty much most to all of my symptoms have gone away since I started to do mostly whole foods and start to cut out toxins in my house and in my environment. Because I think what causes at least the symptoms for sure is when your hormones kind of become unbalanced, and the everyday toxins can really throw our hormones um out of
Yeah,
whack.
because they're endocrine disruptors at the end of the day. Because they mimic the hormones, and that's what throws things off.
Yes. And I used to have like extreme, I don't want to say extreme, maybe severe is the proper word, pain
Mm-hmm.
with my on like my ovaries. Like they would just become very large. Sometimes like they would become so large to where I thought maybe I had a UTI because it was pressing on my bladder. Like that's how large they would become. And but that's also, and I don't know that for a fact, but that's like what my doctor told me. So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Can I be a little nerdy real quick? Because I just learned like the anatomy, like what PCOS actually is.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
like through the cycle, like obviously there's different changes throughout the cycle. That's why the hormones are different at all different phases of the cycle. But what PCOS is caused by is when we're in that follicular phase, that's when we have these follicles in our ovaries that are maturing to become an egg. But what happens with PCOS is the maturation of those follicles are either like it's too fast or it's too slow, and they don't like get rid of themselves properly, and then they kind of like calcify and turn into cysts, and then they get stuck in your ovaries or in your uterus or like fallopian tubes. Like they could be literally anywhere, but it's really just these immature follicles that aren't broken down properly, and then they form cysts.
Feel like I would like understand that because I feel like there was definitely certain points of my cycle as well to where it hurt a lot more. The pain was more severe, so that actually makes a lot of sense. But I think how you were saying that's why it impacts fertility so much. And unfortunately, there's not really, people say there's not really a cure. I say there's a cure, or at least a symptom
Mm-hmm.
lessener, I guess you could
It's
say.
lifestyle
Um,
based.
yes, but when I was at the doctor's, they said there was not a cure,
Hmm.
of course. But I guess I could see where it really impacts the fertility. And like, what's very interesting that my doctor was telling me was the way they treat PCOS, treat, quote unquote,
Band-Aid.
is for Band-Aid for women struggling with fertility. They actually will put them on birth
Mm-hmm.
control and put them on birth control for like a few months. And then that next month or two that you come off of birth control, which you just hear so many rumors because it's like that month or two after you come off of birth control, it's like, oh, it has to get out of your system. But then this doctor's telling me, no, you put them on birth control because that month or two after their system is the most regular that it's gonna be because it was like synthetic regular from the birth control.
See, from like a functioning perspective, I'm like, that makes zero sense because your body's gonna have to figure out how to be normal to have a pregnancy. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe, and I don't know if these people have a higher rate of like miscarriages or anything, but I could imagine if your hormones still don't know what to do, there's going to be fertility issues beyond that month or two after they've come off.
Yes, absolutely. But I don't know. I feel as someone who has kind of lived through that, honestly, I don't know if I've experienced fertility issues
Right.
through that, of course, but as someone who has like kind of lived through the PCOS of it all, it's a very weird medical situation to be in because it's painful and it's there, but it's almost constantly there, but no one's can like help you and just saying like, oh, that's normal, or oh, that's just how it is. Um, when it's really, looking back, it's really
I
not.
think common and normal are very two different things. And the medical people, doctors, providers, OBs, whoever, have normalized things that are not normal.
Yeah,
And just because now a
exactly.
large
But
amount of the population is experiencing this doesn't mean that there's nothing that can be done.
absolutely. And I think that's what we were saying about how we live in like a toxic soup. It's like now a large amount of the population is experiencing this because of our environment and our circumstance, and there's not proper education on how to combat that. And if you want to learn how to combat that, you really have to dive deep and do your own research, and it's very time consuming. So,
But it doesn't have to be
but
all
I
changes
think
overnight either.
no, 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 no. But I think like when I was going through that process, I think I would have loved a podcast like this that talks very like simply about it. And that's how I actually did a lot of my research and learned a lot is through podcasts and people that just kind of like broke it down but talked about it in normal conversation rather than actually looking it up because you don't really know. And with podcasts too, you don't really know who to trust, but like you start to develop almost like a understanding of who the person is on the podcast, and then you do feel like you can start to somewhat trust them rather than just like a Google,
Mm-hmm.
you Googled something on a website and this is what popped up and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think with like the lifestyle changes of it, because it's really not like just nutrition, it's not just workouts, it's not like any one specific thing, but there's a lot of things to work on. So just kind of going back, if we want to give like one action step so far that we've talked about is like reduce the toxins in your environment. And that probably sounds like a large task, but think about all of your household cleaners, all of your fragrance things, your candles, your laundry detergent, your poopery, whatever it is. All of those have toxins. And the more you reduce those, there's clean brands like Molly Suds, and I think even Honest is it Honest? No, Method. I think Method's a pretty clean one. Honest is
Mm-hmm.
also a good one. But there's so many like non-toxic cleaning companies and products now that that's a quick little Google search. Non-toxic surface cleaner. Like some people use citrus, what is it? I make like a citrus vinegar cleanser where I soak orange peels or lemon peels in vinegar and then I dilute it like 1-to-1 with water. And that's a cleaner. It's a disinfectant and it's clean.
Say I do the same exact thing. Instead of soaking the lemon peels though, I do like essential oil, like lemon oil,
Mm-hmm.
just more for the smell so it doesn't smell like vinegar. I know I have a friend who like they even use like vinegar as like laundry detergent and like things like that. Like we forget that they didn't necessarily have cleaning products back in the day, and how did they clean things. And I mean, I don't necessarily know if everyone was like spotless, sparkly clean back in the day, but like, you know what I mean? Like there
That's why we
was
had
ways around it.
diseases.
And I was gonna say, yeah, as I was saying it, I was like, no, but there was natural ingredients that had cleaning properties before there was chemical synthetic ingredients that
Mhm.
had cleaning properties.
Yep.
So,
Those are just some big things to think about. Even down to like your Bath and Body Works either body wash or hand soap. Like that's something, and I don't know, my mother-in-law, my mother alike, they love giving me hand soap, the foaming hand soap. And I think this year I just have to draw the line and say, please stop giving me hand soap. Please stop giving me candles. I don't want them. I appreciate it, but I don't
mhm.
want them.
That's that's one thing, and forgive me if I already said it previously in the episode because it is 3 days later. Fragrance is one of the biggest hormone
Mm-hmm.
disruptors out there, and everything marketed towards women is like, oh, it's like smells nice, and like all your lotions have fragrance in them, and everything you like turn over, um body care, face care, hair care wise, it probably says fragrance on the
I was just going
back.
to say, think about all of the
And
fragrance things just in your bathroom alone. Your shampoo,
mhm,
your conditioner, your body wash, your lotion, your perfume, your laundry. What else? That's 6 huge things right there. If you like lighting candles in a
all of,
bathtub,
if you like
crazy.
lighting candles in general, if you
Mm-hmm.
like wax melts, that's all just fragrance. Air fresheners,
Mm-hmm.
plug-in air freshener things, like you're just pumping this synthetic fragrance that you're constantly breathing in, or it's seeping into your pores, into your home, and you're creating a toxic soup in your home. Your home is the one location that you can control.
Mm-hmm. And you spend most of your
Because
time in.
yes, exactly. Um that's why your home environment is extremely important. I believe I have done a good job of lessening the fragrance in my household. Um, there are such great products out there. One thing I've noticed to get great products is shopping local. So there's like, um, generally when people are making it themselves, they're using somewhat natural ingredients. Now, not always, you still have to read labels, but I would highly recommend shopping local for like lotions, and really looking into shampoos and conditioners that are clean. Um, Personally, I am a hairstylist, as the podcast knows, and I think it doesn't necessarily matter the shampoo and conditioner you use, which crazy. I have people that come in and they have gorgeous hair. They use Pantene and Tresemme. I have people come in who their hair's horrible and they use the most expensive stuff um on the market. And I think it can help a little bit, but I think even if you switch to like an all clean, natural situation, I think your hair is just like your skin, where it really matters what you're putting into your body. I don't really have an opinion on how often you should wash your hair. I think that's up to you, but I don't notice literally a difference whatsoever between what shampoo and conditioners people use. Generally, I can notice a difference with their hormones, medications they're on, and how they eat, stress levels, which is everything we kind of talk about.
And that's another thing that if you're looking for fertility, like removing the toxins, yes. Managing your stress as well. This is something, I don't know. I think we all get stressed to a certain level. I think stress looks different for everyone and how we manage it is different. So it's trial and error to figure out what works for you. Maybe it's going on a walk for 20 minutes outside every day. Maybe it's sitting down and reading a book. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's talking to a friend. Maybe it's sitting in silence in a bathtub or listening to some relaxing music. Maybe it's yoga. Like it could be so different for everyone. And I've probably missed more than I have listed. But managing your stress is huge because that directly impacts your hormones. And if you haven't picked it up yet, like fertility has everything to do with your hormones and the balance and pretty much the orchestra that they all come together to be.
Yes. And granted, I know when we say that, it's easier said than done, because when something's not working as it properly is, that itself is a stressor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like when you like are freaking out and someone says like just relax. It's like I cannot. Like we completely get it. So take that advice with a grain of salt, of course, but still.
I also think that going back to what most things, if you're trying to be a healthier human, come back to is your mindset, your perspective. If you're getting stressed out about every little thing, maybe you should do some internal reflection and like dig and figure out why and pick out some of the things that you could probably stop stressing about, things that you actually don't have control over. That's the biggest thing. Like my clients all the time are so stressed. And I'm like, I just start asking questions. It's like, okay, what is your stress doing about this situation? Is that changing anything? Is it improving it at all? Is the outcome different because you're just stressed and worried about it all the time? Chances are that no. The answer is no. And if there's nothing you can do about it, it's like, yeah, okay, it can make the list of things that you have to worry about, but it shouldn't be consuming every thought, every ounce of energy in your brain, because there's nothing that your stress is going to change about it. So kind of channeling that energy somewhere else can be helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
So we talked about the toxins. We talked about the stress management, diet, your blood sugar maintenance, your metabolism or your metabolic health. I think that's another really huge thing to focus on. And I know we've talked about like our bro protein obsessions. And while I think we do need to be focusing on protein, I don't want you to hear that and be like, oh my God, I have to be drinking and eating protein at every meal and I need to have 7 shakes a day. No. But should you have some protein in every meal? Yes. Because just the way your hormones need to work together, the macronutrients, the micronutrients, they work together to stabilize your blood sugar. So having a protein source, having your fiber source, having a fat source, all of those things are going to help with your metabolic health, but also with balancing your blood sugar, which is going to impact your hormones positively, which I think has had a great impact in lessening your symptoms because you've changed a lot of that with your lifestyle. Would you say that's something that like was probably one of the biggest things for you other than like the toxins in your environment?
I would say it was number one, 100% the biggest thing for me, because I even cut out toxins in a lot of my products way before I took notice of what I was eating. And I actually started my journey kind of with like a carnivore mindset. So that was all like fats and protein, fats and protein. And then I had to supplement fiber, of course, because I wasn't getting any. But I've noticed with the whole food specifically, when you're building a meal, it is extremely hard not to have protein on the plate when you're actually eating whole foods. Now, if you're eating specifically extremely processed foods, it gets a little difficult. Or you get overly processed protein products, which like your protein shakes and your pancakes, but they're protein pancakes. And it's like, wait, what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? But when you're actually like breaking it down, eating whole foods, even eating in season, like you notice the things that you didn't even think of have protein. Like I said, like your cheeses, your beans, quinoa, of course, all your meat products, but like it's actually very hard not to eat protein.
You have to almost be intentional to not eat protein when you're eating whole foods.
Yeah, which
Silly.
and I think you can also because I'm a victim of the over proteining
the bro protein
proteinizing. Yeah, whatever it is. Where I was getting like 70-80 grams of protein at like breakfast, and it's like, what? Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? So like just it's not that complicated. I think everyone just tries to make it so complicated. And it just confuses everybody.
And you're probably listening to this out there and you're like, no, that's me. I am confusion when it comes to protein. Stop overcomplicating it. Just have some protein in every meal and you're doing good. You're doing good. That's all you need to do to change what you're doing right now. Just have a protein in every meal. And if you're not sure what protein is, go to the Google and type in whole food sources for protein. You'll get a good list of them.
Yeah.
I think we also need to touch on exercise in a little ways, because I think for both of us, we've had our seasons of over exercising, under fueling, and that really it can impact your metabolism. It can impact your hormones depending on how long it's been going on, but for years down the road. So if you're someone that's done that in the past or has maybe done that your whole life, you're going to have to give yourself some grace with these changes, because your hormones aren't just going to regulate overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take practice. Even when you don't feel like anything's happening, as long as you're doing what we're talking about, focusing on your toxins, focusing on your stress, managing that, having a healthy whole food diet, things are changing, whether you feel them or see them or not. And you just have to trust that.
Yes. And I think with the exercise and the over-exercising, I think it's very important that we listen to our bodies. And that helps a lot with the balancing of the hormones. Like if you are tired, don't be doing like this intense cycle. Your body knows best and it tries to give you the signs. And when you feel horrible, you shouldn't be like pushing it to the max, because your body's like, wait a minute, like, please stop that. And then it will retaliate against you pretty much with like things like inflammation, and your hormones do not like inflammation at all.
And
nothing in your body likes inflammation, actually. There's no good thing that inflammation does in your body.
Except for when you have a cut and your body inflames at the site trying to keep out infections. That's the only good inflammation.
Okay, we'll give it credit for that.
But speaking of inflammation,
other than that,
guess what
no.
doesn't like inflammation either? Fertility. When you have inflammation, fertility is that much harder. One of the biggest things that we should probably touch on, we touch on this all the time, your sleep. Nature's operating table. We need to be making sure we're getting good quality and quantity of sleep. You know when you wake up and you feel good. You know when you wake up and you don't feel good. So giving yourself, designing your environment, setting yourself up for an opportunity to get good sleep, we're talking 7 to 8 hours is what most people feel good with. You know your body, you know when you don't feel good. But if you're going to bed at 11 o'clock every night and you've got to wake up at 5 in the morning, 6 hours is simply not enough. You need to make sure that you are giving yourself the opportunity to get sleep. So if that means you have to be up at a certain time to work, to do whatever, you better be giving yourself a good bedtime that's going to allow you to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. At least have the chance. If you can't fall asleep, maybe you need a wind down routine, but you have to prioritize sleep.
Yes, I agree. And a thing I like to, and I'm going to bring another gadget up that you don't have to purchase, but it's just something that is very helpful. I love the Aura Ring, because the Aura Ring will track your sleep. As a woman, it can track your cycle. It will track your temperature to where you can kind of tell, for those that don't know, in their cycle, your temperature fluctuates with what's kind of happening with your hormones, and that's when you can tell if you're ovulating, or you can tell if like you're about to get your period, because your temperature will either rise slightly or dip slightly, and it's very slight,
like less than a full degree.
Exactly. But your Aura Ring will tell you. And plus you can do all of your, literally everything we just talked about, your Aura Ring can track for you. And I think we've said it a bunch of times, but spending money on your health will actually save you money in the future from spending it on medical bills.
Which is hard to see when you're not there. But prevention is truly the best medicine.
Yes.
Like, it's hard to get that through to people that just don't get it, and they could probably hear it a million times, but prevention will always be the best medicine. Internalize that if you're listening. Play it back.
Well, I think too, you don't realize when people are like, I've just heard it said so many times, specifically generally around eating or a little bit around exercise, where people are like, well, I'd rather like eat this and be happy than not eat it and like live a long, unhappy life or whatever they
Yes.
say. We've all heard it been said
I'd rather
before.
be fat and happy than skinny and miserable, pretty much.
Yeah. But that concept to me is crazy because you are living your life in joys from food.
Can we find happiness other places?
Like, don't you? And I think people never actually truly mean that, of course, because your joys come from like living a long, happy life with family and like being able to be your happiest, healthiest self for as long as you possibly can to not only experience these things yourself, but also have your family there with you to experience them for as long as you can. I think personally, and I don't mean to get controversial on everyone, I think that mindset is extremely selfish.
Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about that
But we're kind
before
of getting,
too.
yeah,
Like when you're
we're
living that way, you're forcing that responsibility on your family later when they have to take care of you.
exactly. And it does impact your life. And like that brings us right back to like fertility of like, if you live this way and you almost quote unquote do not care, or in the moment you do not care, you're going to care in the future. And when all of these choices that you've made for your life start to somewhat impact your health, you look back and be like, oh, I wish maybe I would have gotten more sleep. Not eaten, I don't know, not eaten like from a box 5 times a week. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
think that usually comes out with like, man, I wish I felt healthier. Man, I wish I would have taken care of myself a little sooner. Like at
yeah,
that point in time, you don't realize like what the contributor was. Was it sleep? Was it the processed foods? Was it the lack of exercise? Was it the over amounts of stress that they've just been experiencing for years? Like you don't really know
yeah,
what the pinpoint is because at that point it's probably been a combination of things that have been taking a toll for a very long time. But you don't want to
yeah,
have those regrets. And when we think about it, when you're thinking about building a family, I hate to say it, and I don't know, maybe there's some unicorns out there where this is not true, but your life doesn't get simpler or easier once you have children. So if you don't have, or if you haven't put in the energy, the effort to make healthier decisions before a child is here, doing it later is not going to be any easier. You're not going to have more motivation later. You need to do it now
yes.
because when you put that time and energy in now, postpartum will be easier, pregnancy will be easier, labor and delivery will be easier,
Mm-hmm.
postpartum will be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Starting your baby on solids is going to be easier. You're going to be able to give them a wider palate and expand that so they're not picky eaters. And then guess what? You're giving all of those good habits not only to your spouse, your husband, whoever, but also your children. And you're breaking the generational cycle of restrictive dieting because you're instilling a healthy relationship with food and exercise in their body from birth, which our
Mm-hmm.
generation did not get, most of us. So when you're
Yes.
taking control of that and seeing that as empowerment, you're having a bigger ripple effect than what you think you are.
Yes. Which, with that being said, though, even though it does not get easier, it's never too late.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the
Yes.
point I'm trying to get across is the earlier you start, the better. You're going to be set up
Yes.
even more for whatever season of life it is. If you're listening to this and you're not pregnant yet, like that's exactly who I'm talking to. If you're listening to this and
Mm-hmm.
you've got 3 kids and you're like, I just can't get this figured out, it is not too late. But the longer
Mm-mm.
you wait, it's not going to get easier. You're not going to have more motivation. You need to make one change now.
Yes. Absolutely. I think it is great that like fertile years, especially for women, it's a blessing and a curse, are so young to where you really can change your life around somewhat easily, a lot easier than like someone who's struggling with health problems in their 70s can change their life around because they've had 70 years of this lifestyle. And again, for them, it's not too late, but thankfully, women generally have, I don't know when the fertile years even start. Let's say like
Probably when
I know they
the
start.
period starts.
I was gonna say I know they start sooner, but let's just say for the sake of it, like 18 to 40, 45
on average
ish. Yeah. You have so much time to change your life around, and you actually haven't had that much time prior of these unhealthy habits either. Like you have so much life left to live and you can really switch everything around. So,
Yep. I love that. If today's episode reminded you that fertility is connected to your overall health, that's exactly the point. Preparing your body for pregnancy isn't about doing everything perfectly or following extreme protocols. It's about building a foundation of health that supports your body now and in the future. The habits that improve fertility are the same habits that support your energy, your metabolism, your hormones, and your long-term health. If you know someone who wants to become a mom someday, whether that's soon or years from now, share this episode with her so she can start thinking about these things early. If you're not already, make sure you're following us on Instagram and TikTok. Our handles are in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Sis Let's Heal podcast.